The thick fog wrapped around the forest like a living thing, silent and cold, whispering with every small gust of wind. Ethan stumbled through it, his boots sinking into the damp soil, his breath heavy inside his cracked helmet. His ship had crashed only an hour ago, a fiery streak across the alien sky before breaking apart in a storm of sparks. He was the only survivor, stranded on an unknown planet with limited oxygen and no way to call for help. The air here was strange. It shimmered faintly, glowing in soft shades of blue and green. The forest around him was full of movement, but he couldn't see what was hiding behind the thick mist. Every sound made him flinch, the low hum of insects, the distant cry of something large, and the drip of glowing water from giant leaves. He gripped his plasma knife tightly, whispering to himself, "Stay calm, Ethan. Just find shelter." Ahead, a faint light flickered between the trees. It wasn't from his ship, it was something else. Something alive. He followed it carefully, stepping over roots and rocks until the fog opened to a small clearing. There in the center was a glowing pond, its surface calm, reflecting strange stars above. And beside it stood a figure, tall and graceful, with silver-blue skin that shimmered under the light. Ethan froze, his heart pounding. The figure turned, and he saw her face clearly, beautiful, almost human, but not quite. Her eyes were bright silver, her hair long and flowing like strands of light. She didn't look afraid. She didn't run or attack. She only tilted her head and smiled faintly. Then she spoke, her voice soft but clear. "What else do you expect to receive from me, human?" Ethan's heart almost stopped. She spoke his language, perfect and calm. He took a step back, unsure if it was real or some strange illusion. How do you know my language?" he asked quietly. The alien girl smiled wider, crossing her arms. "You're not the first human I've met?" That answer hit him like lightning. Not the first? Did that mean other humans had been here before? He tried to think, to speak, but she laughed softly, a gentle, teasing sound that didn't match the danger he felt. "You look lost," she said, circling around him, her bare feet silent on the glowing moss. "Your kind always looks lost when they arrive here." Ethan turned to follow her movement, his voice steady. "I didn't mean to come here. My ship crashed. I just need help." She raised one silver eyebrow. "Help?" she repeated like the word amused her. "You humans always ask for help. Always want something," she said playfully. Then she leaned closer, eyes glinting with curiosity. "Tell me, human, what are you willing to give in return?" Ethan swallowed hard, unsure if she was joking or threatening him. "I don't have much," he said, "just food, tools, maybe some knowledge." The alien girl tilted her head again. "Knowledge," she repeated slowly, as if tasting the word. "That's what the last human said too," he frowned. "There was another human here?" But she didn't answer. Instead, she walked toward the glowing pond and knelt beside it, running her hand across the surface. The water rippled with strange symbols that glowed like light beneath her fingers. Ethan took a step closer. "Who are you?" She looked back at him, her eyes calm but unreadable. "My name doesn't matter to you," she said softly. "You won't be here long enough to use it." The word sent a chill down his spine. Before he could reply, the ground beneath them trembled, a deep, low rumble that made the water in the pond shake. The alien girl's teasing smile faded, and for a brief moment real fear crossed her face. Ethan looked around quickly. "What was that?" She stood, her gaze scanning the dark forest. "You shouldn't be here, human," she whispered. Something large moved between the trees, breaking branches, its growl echoing through the mist. Ethan gripped his knife tightly, heart racing. The alien girl stepped closer and whispered, "Follow me if you want to live." Without waiting, she sprinted into the fog, her body glowing faintly as she moved. Ethan hesitated for only a second before running after her. Behind him, something massive roared. The sound shaking the ground, they ran through twisting paths, the fog turning red from the light of his damaged beacon. Ethan could barely keep up with her speed, his lungs burning. Finally, they reached a rocky hill where strange symbols glowed on the stones. The alien girl pressed her palm on one, and the rock opened silently like a door. She looked back at him once, eyes shining in the dark. "Inside," now she said sharply. "Before it finds you," Ethan rushed in, his heart pounding. The stone door sealed behind them. Cutting off the roar outside, he turned toward her, still trying to catch his breath. "Who are you?" he whispered again. She looked at him quietly, a small smile returning to her lips. "Someone who just saved your foolish human life," she said teasingly. Then she added softly, "But don't thank me yet, you might not like the reason why." The silence inside the stone chamber was heavy, broken only by Ethan's slow breathing. The walls glowed faintly with strange blue lines. Moving like veins under the rock, he could still hear the muffled roars outside, far but powerful. The alien girl leaned against the wall, her silver eyes watching him closely. She looked calm again, almost amused, as if being chased by a monster was nothing new to her. Ethan tried to steady his breath. What was that thing out there? She smiled faintly, brushing dust off her glowing skin. "A Verak," she said simply. He frowned. "A what?" Her tone turned teasing. "Big teeth, long claws, likes to eat curious humans." Ethan swallowed hard. "You could have told me earlier." She shrugged. "Would you have listened?" He sat down on a cold rock, running a hand through his messy hair. His ship was gone, his comms dead, and now he was trapped underground with an alien who liked to tease him. She walked closer, her steps soft and soundless. "You're brave, human," she said, circling him slowly. "Or maybe just foolish." He looked up, tired but curious. "You keep calling me human like it's a bad word." "It's not bad," she said, her lips curling into a playful smile. "It's just predictable." Ethan tilted his head. "Predictable?" She nodded. "You crash. You beg for help. You promise things you can't give." Her words cut like a knife, but her tone was light, almost teasing. He frowned. "Then why did you help me? You could have left me out there." For a moment she said nothing, then she looked at him with a strange softness. "Maybe I was curious. Maybe I wanted to see what a human would do when faced with death." Her silver eyes met his, glowing faintly in the dim light. "Most aliens scream." "You ran," she added, almost impressed. Ethan tried to stand, but his leg throbbed from the fall earlier. The girl noticed and knelt beside him, her long hair brushing his arm. "Stay still," she said, and pressed her glowing hand against his wound. He gasped as warmth spread through his skin, the pain slowly fading when she pulled her hand back. The cut was gone. Ethan stared in shock. "How did you—" She smiled again. "You humans heal slow, so I helped." "You owe me now, owe you?" Ethan asked, raising an eyebrow. She nodded with a smirk. "Of course. Nothing's free here," he sighed, half smiling. "What do you want? My food, my gear?" She leaned closer, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "What else do you expect to receive from me, human?" she whispered playfully, repeating her earlier line. Ethan blinked, speechless, unsure whether she was serious or joking. Then her expression changed suddenly, her teasing gone, her tone sharp. "Quiet," she said from above. The ground rumbled again, dust falling from the ceiling. The roars of the Verak echoed faintly. This time farther away, Ethan listened carefully, his hand gripping his knife. "Is it leaving?" he whispered. She shook her head. "No, it's waiting. It always waits." She walked to a small opening in the wall, like a window made of glowing crystal. Through it, they could see the foggy forest outside. The creature's huge shadow moved between the trees, its red eyes glowing like fire. Ethan whispered, "How do we stop that thing?" The alien girl turned to him slowly, her expression calm but serious. "You don't," she said. "You run faster than it does." He stared at her, unsure if she was joking again. But her voice had no playfulness this time, it was pure warning. She turned away from the window. "The Verak is not the only danger here," she continued softly. "The forest belongs to the Watchers. They don't like strangers." "The Watchers?" he asked. "Who are they?" Her eyes darkened a little. "The old guardians of this world. They control everything that breathes here. Even me." Ethan frowned. "Then why are you helping me? Won't they punish you for that?" She gave a small laugh, but it was hollow. "Maybe they will." He could see a flash of sadness behind her teasing smile. For a moment, she looked less like a powerful alien and more like someone trapped by invisible chains. He said softly, "If you don't want to be here, come with me. I can find a way off this planet." She turned to him slowly, her eyes wide as if no one had ever said that to her before. Then she laughed again, gentle and mocking. "You humans think you can fix everything, even the stars." Her tone softened. "But you can't even fix your own fear." Ethan didn't answer. He only looked at her, calm and steady. That made her expression change again. Less playful now, more thoughtful. "You really mean it," she whispered. "You would take me away from here?" He nodded once. "Yes." She stared at him for a long time, silent. Then she smiled faintly and said, "Maybe you are not like the others after all." The rumbling above faded, replaced by the soft hum of glowing crystals. The alien girl stepped toward a narrow tunnel at the back of the chamber. "Come, human," she said softly. "You wanted answers? Then follow me." Ethan followed, his pulse quick but steady. He didn't know where she was leading him or why she suddenly looked almost hopeful. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning, and that her teasing words hid something far more dangerous than he could imagine. The tunnel twisted downward. Lit by glowing blue veins running through the stone, Ethan followed the alien girl quietly, his boots echoing softly against the damp floor. The air was warm and thick, humming with a strange energy that made the skin on his arms prickle. She walked ahead gracefully, her glowing hair brushing the walls, her steps light and soundless every now and then. She looked back at him, not to check if he was keeping up, but as if studying him, Ethan finally spoke. "You still haven't told me your name." She glanced over her shoulder, a small smile forming. "Names are powerful things here," she said softly. He frowned. "Then how should I call you?" "Call me nothing," she replied playfully. "That way, you won't miss me when I'm gone." Her teasing tone made him sigh. But there was something warm in it, something that almost felt human. The tunnel opened into a wide cavern filled with glowing pools of light. Tiny winged creatures fluttered above the water, leaving trails of silver dust in the air. Ethan stared in wonder. "It's beautiful," he said quietly. The alien girl smiled faintly. "Beauty hides danger here, human," she said, dipping her hand into one of the pools. The water glowed brighter under her touch. Reflecting her silver eyes, he knelt beside her, curiosity overcoming fear. "You really know this place?" She nodded slowly. "I was born here. This world raised me, but it also owns me." Ethan looked at her closely, noticing a faint mark on her arm, like a burned symbol. "What's that?" he asked, pointing at it. She covered it quickly, her expression hardening. "Nothing you need to worry about," she said sharply. The playfulness in her voice disappeared, replaced by something guarded and heavy. Before he could say anything more, the ground trembled softly. A distant rumble echoed through the cavern, followed by the faint growl of something large. The alien girl stiffened, her head turning toward the sound. "It's back," she whispered. "The Varak never gives up once it smells fear." Ethan stood quickly, scanning the darkness. "How did it find us?" Her eyes narrowed. "Because you're here," she said quietly. "Humans burn bright to creatures like it. You stand out even in the dark." The growling grew louder, closer now. She grabbed his arm and pulled him toward a narrow opening at the side of the cavern. "This way," she said firmly. "Stay close and don't speak." They slipped through the gap into a smaller tunnel, crawling through tight spaces as the roars echoed behind them. Rocks fell, dust filled the air, and Ethan's pulse pounded in his ears. Suddenly, a bright red light filled the tunnel, the creature's glowing eyes peering through the cracks. The alien girl pressed her hand over Ethan's mouth, pulling him close against the wall. "Don't move," she whispered, her breath warm against his ear. The shadow of the beast moved past them, slow and heavy, its claws scraping the stone. Ethan stayed still, barely breathing, feeling the tremor of its steps through his chest. Minutes felt like hours before the sound finally faded. The alien girl lowered her hand. Stepping back slightly, Ethan looked at her, still catching his breath. "That thing almost found us." She gave a small smile. "Almost," she said, her voice soft again. "But it didn't. You should thank me." He laughed quietly, shaking his head. "You enjoy teasing me, don't you?" Her smile grew wider. "Maybe," she said, her eyes glinting in the dim light. "Humans are easy to tease." "You react to everything with your face," Ethan chuckled. "Well, you're not easy to read at all." She tilted her head, pretending to think. "Maybe that's why we make a good pair." The words surprised him, but before he could reply, she turned and started walking again. "Come," she said. "We're not safe yet." They reached the end of the tunnel, where a small opening led outside. Cool air rushed in, carrying the scent of wet earth and strange flowers. The alien girl crawled out first, scanning the area carefully before motioning for Ethan to follow. They were now standing on a rocky ridge overlooking a glowing forest valley. Thousands of tiny lights floated in the mist below. Like stars trapped between trees, Ethan whispered, "It's beautiful." Again, she smiled slightly. You humans always see beauty first. Danger later. He looked at her with a grin. Maybe that's how we survive. Her eyes softened for a moment. Then she turned serious again. The Varak won't stop. It can smell us from miles away. We need to reach the sanctuary before nightfall. Sanctuary? Ethan asked. She nodded. It's an old place built by your kind long ago. That stopped him cold. By humans? You're saying there were humans here before? Yes, she said quietly, her gaze distant. Long before your people forgot this world existed? Ethan stared at her, stunned. And how do you know all this? She turned toward him, her silver eyes glowing softly. Because I remember, she said simply, and because one of them saved me. The wind blew softly between them, carrying silence heavy with unspoken stories. Ethan felt something shift inside him, a mix of curiosity, trust, and fear. Who was she really, and how could she know humans from so long ago? The alien girl looked at him with that familiar teasing smile again. What's wrong, human? You look scared, she said playfully. Stepping closer, he met her gaze, calm but curious. Not scared, he said quietly. Just wondering what you're not telling me. Her smile faded slightly, and for a brief moment sadness flickered behind her eyes. Then she whispered almost to herself, If you stay with me, you'll find out. But you might not survive it. Before Ethan could reply, a distant roar rolled across the forest again, shaking the ground beneath them. The Varak was hunting once more. The alien girl looked toward the dark horizon, her playful smile returning just a little. Ready for another run, human? She teased, her silver eyes glowing in the mist. Ethan gripped his knife tightly and nodded. Lead the way. The wind screamed through the forest as Ethan and the alien girl ran between the glowing trees. The ground shook under their boots, the sound of the Varak echoing behind them. Heavy and furious, every roar made the air vibrate. Shaking leaves from the tall crystal-tipped branches, Ethan's lungs burned, his legs numb, but he didn't stop. He followed her glowing figure through the fog. She moved like a shadow, fast and smooth, her silver hair flowing like light behind her. Faster, human, she called, her voice both playful and urgent. Ethan gritted his teeth. Easy for you to say. She glanced back with a smirk even while running. You're slower than I expected. Yeah? He panted. Maybe next time warn me before we fight a monster. Her soft laugh echoed between the trees, light even in the chaos. Then suddenly she stopped, grabbing his arm, pulling him behind a large stone wall covered in glowing moss. Quiet, she whispered. Ethan pressed his back to the cold rock, his heart pounding hard. The ground trembled as the Varak passed by, its massive shadow moving like a mountain through the fog. Its eyes glowed red, its claws scraping against stone. It sniffed the air, growling low. And then silence. Ethan barely breathed. The alien girl leaned close, her face inches from his. Her eyes watching the darkness, her skin glowed faintly. And he could see her pulse racing in her neck. They stayed that way for several long seconds until the sound faded. Then she whispered softly, Come, there's a cave ahead. We'll be safe there for a while. They moved carefully, stepping over glowing roots and broken stones until they reached the cave. It was hidden behind a wall of thick vines that shimmered like liquid metal. She touched them and they opened, revealing a small hollow space lit by natural blue light. Inside it was quiet, safe for now. Ethan dropped to the ground, exhausted, his back against the wall. The alien girl sat across from him, breathing slowly, her silver eyes calm again. Ethan looked around, amazed. How do you know all these hiding spots? She smiled faintly. Because I've been hunted longer than you've been alive. Her tone was calm but filled with sadness. Ethan frowned. You mean by that thing? The Varak? She shook her head. No, by the Watchers. The Varak is just their pet. He stared at her. You said they control this world. Why? Her eyes softened. Because long ago, your kind gave it to them. Ethan blinked, confused. My kind? Humans? She nodded slowly. Your ancestors came here long before you were born. They built great cities and machines, then disappeared. Before they left, they handed this world to the Watchers to protect it. But the Watchers twisted that gift into power. Ethan listened quietly, his curiosity growing stronger. And you? How do you fit into this? She looked away, her expression unreadable. I was born from both, she said softly. Watcher blood and Human memory. He frowned. Human memory? She nodded. The last human who lived here. Gave me something before he died. His essence, his dreams, his will. That's why I know your language. That's why I know you. The words hung in the air like electricity. Ethan didn't know what to say. The idea that a part of humanity still lived in her. It stirred something deep inside him. She looked down, her voice turning quiet. You humans always come and go, but your light never fades. It's strange, comforting maybe. Ethan smiled softly. Maybe that's because we're too stubborn to disappear. Her lips curved into a small smile. Yes, stubborn. I remember that word. It suits you. Then she glanced at his leg. Let me see your wound again. He shook his head. It's fine. Before he could finish, she moved closer, kneeling beside him, her hand glowing gently. He felt warmth spread through his leg again, but this time, it was softer. Almost like a gentle touch instead of energy. Their eyes met, and for the first time, her teasing expression faded completely. You risked your life for me, she said quietly. Ethan looked surprised. You saved me first, she shook her head. You didn't have to follow me. You could have run, he smiled faintly. Yeah, but that's not how humans work. Her eyes searched his face for a moment, then she said softly, I think I understand now why the last human stayed. A long silence followed, filled only by the soft hum of the glowing crystals. Ethan finally asked, What's your name? This time she didn't smile or tease. She looked at him calmly and said, Lyra. Ethan repeated it quietly. Lyra? The name felt right, soft, light, beautiful. She turned her gaze away quickly, maybe hiding a blush, maybe hiding something deeper. Then she whispered, Don't use it outside this cave. Names carry power here. If the Watchers hear it, they'll find me. He nodded. I won't tell anyone. Lyra looked back at him, her silver eyes reflecting the light like tiny stars. Good, she said softly. Then maybe you'll live a little longer. Human. Her voice carried a mix of playfulness and warning. Outside, the wind howled again, and the Varak's distant roar rolled through the valley. Ethan tightened his grip on his knife. Lyra stood beside him, her glowing hand resting on the cave wall. Tomorrow, she said quietly, I'll show you the truth of this world. Then you'll see what your kind left behind. Ethan nodded slowly. He didn't know what waited beyond that cave. But as the blue light reflected across Lyra's eyes, he felt a strange calm, a connection that was growing stronger than fear itself. When the first light of dawn touched the misty forest, the fog began to glow with soft blue light. Ethan opened his eyes slowly, feeling the cold stone beneath him. The cave was quiet except for the faint hum of energy moving through its walls. Lyra stood at the entrance, her silver hair shining like moonlight in the morning glow. She was staring into the forest as if waiting for something unseen. Ethan rose to his feet, rubbing his tired eyes. You didn't sleep? Lyra shook her head gently. I don't need to, she said, her voice calm but distant. He stepped beside her, looking out into the strange, glowing world. What now? He asked softly. She turned to him, her eyes serious. Now human, you see the truth of this place. They began walking through the forest path that wound between tall trees made of glass and crystal. Every branch glowed faintly, and the air shimmered like water. Strange birds made of light fluttered between the trunks, leaving sparks in their wake. It was beautiful. Yet something about it felt wrong. Too perfect, too still, Ethan whispered. It's like the whole planet is alive, Lyra nodded. It is, she said softly, but not as you think. As they moved deeper, they reached a wide clearing covered in old stone structures. Broken pillars rose from the ground, each covered in glowing symbols that pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Ethan stopped, staring in disbelief. These are human markings. Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. Yes, the ones who came before you built this place. They called it the Cradle of Seeds. He turned to her, confused. Seeds? What kind of seeds? Lyra walked up to one of the pillars and placed her hand on it. The symbols flared brighter and a low hum filled the air. The seeds of creation, she said. They are not plants or food. They are fragments of life itself. They carry the power to rebuild worlds. Ethan blinked. Rebuild worlds? She nodded. Your ancestors found them buried deep under this planet. They learned how to use them to give life to dead lands. But some feared that power, and those fears created the Watchers. Ethan listened quietly as the story unfolded. The Watchers were meant to guard the seeds, Lyra continued. But over time, they wanted the power for themselves. They changed. They became rulers, not protectors. She looked at the sky, her eyes reflecting its light. When the humans left this planet, the Watchers took control. They erased your history from this place, and anyone who still remembered was hunted. Ethan frowned. Including you? Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, I am what remains of both sides, human memory and alien blood. The Watchers call me the Broken One. Her voice trembled slightly, and for the first time Ethan heard pain behind her calm words. He stepped closer, his tone soft. You're not broken. You're proof humans were here and that they left something behind. She looked at him for a moment, silent, then smiled faintly. You talk like him. Ethan blinked. Like who? The last human, she said softly. The one who saved me when I was young. He believed hope was something that never dies. For a moment, silence hung between them, broken only by the hum of the glowing ruins. Then Lyra moved toward a large stone arch at the center of the clearing. The air shimmered inside it like a liquid mirror. She turned back to Ethan, her silver eyes serious. Beyond this gate lies the heart of the planet, the seed chamber. What you see there may change everything you believe. Ethan hesitated. Is it dangerous? Lyra gave a soft smile. Everything worth knowing is. They stepped through the arch together, and the world around them shifted. The ground turned transparent, showing rivers of light flowing beneath their feet. Floating crystals moved through the air like silent guardians. At the center of the chamber stood a massive crystal sphere, glowing with golden light. Ethan could feel its energy vibrating through his chest. It felt alive. Like a heartbeat, he whispered, Is that the seed? Lyra nodded, her voice soft. Yes, the seed of Genesis. It holds the power to heal worlds or destroy them. The Watchers use it to feed their cities, but if it falls into the wrong hands, it could end everything. Ethan stared at the glowing sphere, awe and fear mixing inside him. So why bring me here? He asked, Why show me this? Lyra's expression turned calm but sad. Because the seed only answers to human blood. Her words hit him like a thunderstrike. What do you mean? He asked. She stepped closer, placing her hand on the glowing crystal. It recognizes your kind. It will open for you and only you. Ethan's heart pounded. And what happens if I open it? Lyra's voice grew quiet. Then you'll decide the future of this world. The air around them began to hum louder, and the golden light spread, wrapping them both in warmth. Ethan looked at her, uncertain. You trust me with this? Lyra smiled softly. I don't trust easily, human. But you are not like the ones before. You see beyond power. You see life. He stepped closer, their faces inches apart. And what do you see in me? He asked quietly. Her eyes shimmered like liquid silver. Something my world forgot. A heart that gives, not takes. Before he could reply, the ground trembled violently. The chamber lights flickered, and a deep, distant voice echoed through the walls, cold and thunderous. Lyra! You have betrayed the Watchers. Lyra froze, her face turning pale. Ethan reached for his knife instinctively. What's happening? He shouted. Lyra turned toward him, her voice low but firm. They've found us. The walls cracked and shadows moved in the golden light. She looked at him one last time, whispering, Don't let them take the seed, no matter what happens. The chamber erupted in light as the Watchers descended through the air, their armor shining black as night, and Ethan, surrounded by power beyond his understanding, stood between them and the only being who had ever believed in him. The golden light inside the chamber turned red as cracks of energy spread across the floor. Ethan could feel the air grow heavy, like the world itself was holding its breath. Lyra stood in front of him, her silver hair glowing in the red haze, her eyes fierce and calm. From above, dark shapes dropped from the air. The Watchers, tall and armored, with faces hidden behind sharp, shining masks, their voices echoed in unison. Cold and cruel, Lyra of the broken blood, you were warned. The seed does not belong to you. Lyra's voice rang out clear, and neither do you belong to this world anymore. One of the Watchers stepped forward, his armor black like oil, his voice deep. You betrayed your kind for a human. Ethan gripped his plasma knife, standing beside her. She didn't betray anyone. he said sharply. You're the one stealing life from this planet. The Watcher turned his glowing eyes toward him. A human speaks of life? Your kind abandoned this place long ago. You are nothing but ghosts. Before Ethan could answer, the Watcher raised his hand and a surge of dark energy shot across the room. Lyra reacted first. She grabbed Ethan's arm and pulled him down, the blast missing by inches. The impact shattered part of the chamber, sending shards of crystal flying through the air. Ethan rolled across the floor and came up swinging, the blade of his plasma knife humming bright blue. Lyra lifted her hand and a wave of silver light erupted from her palm, forming a shield that stopped another blast. The chamber filled with chaos, light and shadows clashing like storms. Ethan ducked behind a broken pillar, breathing hard. We can't fight them all. Lyra crouched beside him, her tone calm even in the madness. We don't need to. We only need time. For what? He asked. She looked at him, her silver eyes glowing fiercely. For the seed to wake. Another explosion shook the chamber. Two Watchers landed near them, their claws slashing the air. Ethan jumped up, blocking a strike with his knife. The impact threw sparks. The alien armor was thick, but he aimed for the gaps. He moved fast, using his human instincts, ducking, rolling, striking. One Watcher hit him hard across the chest, sending him sliding across the floor. Lyra caught him before he hit the wall, her arms strong around his shoulders. You fight like fire, she said softly, almost smiling. Yeah, he coughed. And fire burns out fast. Lyra stepped forward, raising both hands, her voice echoing through the chamber. Enough, she shouted, and the air around her exploded with light. The Watchers stumbled back, shielding themselves as waves of silver energy burst from her body. Ethan watched in awe as her markings glowed brighter than ever. But the light flickered. She was weakening, her body trembling under the strain. He rushed to her side, holding her up. You're burning yourself out. She looked at him with soft eyes. It's the only way to give the seed what it needs. Ethan turned toward the glowing crystal sphere in the center. It pulsed like a living heart, bright and alive. Tell me what to do, he said firmly. Lyra smiled faintly. You already know. He hesitated, then placed his bloodied hand on the crystal surface. The light surged instantly, gold mixed with silver. Wrapping around both of them, the Watcher shouted, Stop them, and rushed forward, but the light expanded, forming a barrier that threw them back. Ethan felt heat rushing through his veins, his heart pounding faster. Images flashed in his mind, cities of light, humans and aliens working together, a world reborn from ashes. The seed was showing him what once was, and what could be again. Lyra's voice broke through the light, weak but steady. Do you see now? This is what they feared. Human courage joined with alien will. Ethan nodded, gripping her hand tightly. We finish this together. Her eyes softened. Together, she whispered. Then the light burst outward, filling the whole chamber. The Watchers screamed as their armor cracked. Their dark power burned away by the brilliance. The ground split open, golden streams of energy rising like rivers. Ethan stood in the center of it all, holding Lyra close. She looked up at him with a faint smile, her body glowing brighter and brighter. You've done it, she whispered. But Ethan shook his head. No, we did it. Stay with me, Lyra. Her expression grew gentle, almost sad. The seed took what it needed, she said softly. My energy, my life. He froze. No. There has to be another way. She touched his face lightly, her hand trembling. You gave it the spark it needed. I only gave it shape. The chamber began to calm. The red light faded into warm gold. The Watchers were gone, turned to dust. But Lyra's glow started to dim, her silver eyes flickering weakly. Ethan pulled her close, holding her tight. Don't you dare disappear on me, he said. His voice cracking, Lyra smiled faintly. You humans always think you can stop the stars from fading. He shook his head, desperate. I can try. Her voice softened to a whisper. What else do you expect to receive from me, human? And then her eyes closed, her body turning into pure light. It floated upward, merging with the seed, which pulsed once, bright, alive, before going still again. Ethan stood alone in the golden glow, tears running down his dusty face. The world around him was silent, but he could feel it, life returning. The planet breathing again. Lyra was gone. But her light was everywhere. He looked up at the seed one last time and whispered, I'll finish what you started. Silence filled the chamber once the storm of light faded. The air was warm and still, carrying the faint echo of Lyra's last words. Ethan stood in the golden glow, his body trembling, his heart heavy with both grief and awe. All around him the seed pulsed softly, alive again, shining like a miniature sun. Its light spread through the cracks of the ruined ground, flowing like golden rivers across the planet. He looked at his hands, they still shimmered faintly from the energy he had touched. His skin burned, but he didn't care. His mind replayed Lyra's smile, her words, her bravery. She had sacrificed everything for this moment, for him, for the world. And now, it was his duty to make sure it meant something. Ethan turned toward the stone door at the edge of the chamber. It had been shattered during the battle, and through it, he could see the morning light outside. The once dead forest was now alive, trees glowing green instead of blue. Water flowed where there had been dust, and strange flowers opened their petals toward the sky. He stepped out slowly, feeling the sunlight on his face. It was warmer now, peaceful, almost familiar. The air carried a soft hum, the song of a world reborn. And yet, despite all the beauty, he felt an emptiness deep inside. He looked up at the bright sky, whispering, "You did it, Lyra. You really did it." For a moment there was no answer. Then a soft breeze moved through the forest. It brushed against his face like a gentle hand, and faintly in the wind, he heard her voice. "Ethan, you kept your promise." He froze, his eyes wide. "Lyra?" But there was no one there, only light. Still, the air shimmered for a second, forming a faint outline, a glowing figure. It was her, or at least her essence. Her energy mixed with the seed. She smiled, soft and radiant, her voice echoing inside his mind. "You humans never stop fighting, even when your hearts break." Ethan's throat tightened. "You're alive?" "Not as before," her voice replied gently. "The seed changed me. I am part of this world now. My body is gone, but my soul watches over it." He stepped closer to the glowing form, his voice trembling. "I wish I could have saved you." Lyra's voice was warm, kind, teasing even now. "You did. You saved me by believing in what I am, not what I was." He smiled sadly. "It's not fair. You gave everything." Her light flickered softly like laughter. "And you gave something too. You gave your courage, your heart. That is more than any power in the universe." Ethan took a deep breath, looking at the new forest around him. "Then I'll make sure your sacrifice matters. I'll rebuild what they destroyed." The air shimmered again, and her voice whispered, "Then you will not be alone. My light will guide you." The glow faded slowly, sinking back into the ground, spreading through the forest like roots of light. Ethan stood there for a long time, silent, and when the wind blew again, he could almost hear her teasing tone. "What else do you expect to receive from me, human?" He smiled faintly, wiping his tears. "Nothing. Just your memory." Days passed. Ethan built a camp near the seed's chamber, using what was left of his ship and the materials from the ruins. The planet changed around him faster than he could believe, air growing richer, soil turning green, animals began to return, strange, glowing creatures that walked carefully near him, watching but never attacking. At night, the stars shone brighter, and the seed's light could still be seen from the horizon. He started leaving carvings on the old pillars, symbols of humans and aliens holding hands. He wanted whoever came next to know that both sides could protect, not destroy. One night as he sat near the fire, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned quickly, gripping his knife, but instead of danger, he saw a small alien child, its eyes silver like Lyra's, its skin faintly glowing. It looked frightened and hungry. Ethan smiled softly and knelt down, offering a small piece of fruit. "Here," he said gently. "It's safe." The child stared at him, then slowly took the fruit. It ate quietly, then looked up at him and said in a small voice, "The light said you would come." Ethan froze, his heart skipping a beat. "The light?" The child nodded, pointing to the sky where the golden glow still shimmered faintly. "She told us to find the human. She said you would teach us how to live free." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. He smiled through them, whispering, "Lyra." The child looked at him curiously. "Who is Lyra?" He smiled, looking up at the glowing sky. "Someone who saved us all." Years later, the planet bloomed with life again. Towers of crystal and gardens of green stretched across the land. Humans who came later from the stars found it alive and peaceful. They found the carvings Ethan made and the name Lyra written beside them. They built a monument there, a shining statue of a human and a silver-eyed alien standing together at its base. An inscription read, "What else do you expect to receive from me, human? Only what was already yours, Hope." And under the golden sky, where her light still danced across the trees, Ethan's voice could almost be heard, carried by the wind, telling her story to the stars again and again,